Well, the draft has come and gone, and now it's time to shift focus over to free agency. And here to help me preview the pending free agency period is Ryan Novozinsky. He is a writer for NJ.com. A lot of you on Devil's Twitter might already be familiar with his work, and he is here to talk everything from the development camp, the draft, his talk with Tom Fitzgerald, and the overall direction that the New Jersey Devils might be shifting for this upcoming season. There's a lot to talk about in today's episode. Buckle up.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, also Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, Trey Matthews. And joined alongside me, it's the myth, the legend. It is Ryan Novozinsky, writer for NJ.com. Ryan, how you doing?
Trey, I'm doing great, man. First and foremost, you're a myth and a legend in your own right. So we cannot, I don't like to take that credit because honestly, like when I first got on this beat, I was listening to this podcast quite a bit, and I still do all the time. So respect to you and for helping me really get into this team a lot and really understands like some of the more ins and outs of it than previously known. So yeah, respect to you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it goes two ways because I also look at some of your tweets. I look at some of your articles for some of my episodes as well, just because, like I said before we started recording, you're like the Adrian Wojnarowski for the New Jersey Devils. Everyone on Twitter, like every time you tweet about it, every time you say something about it, it's official. So if Dougie Hamilton fractured his ankle and is out for the rest of the year and you're the first to report it, then I guess it really did happen. So but no, that did happen. Just give it an example, everyone. So Ryan, you actually went to development camp before we started recording. So how was that experience like? Like who did you see? Who surprised you the most? And what can you give my listeners some insight?
Yeah. First and foremost, I do want to say this, that I was, I wish I was still at development camp right now, because as you can see, I'm in my room right now. This is where sometimes I'll break some news or post my stories. Most of the time I'm in my bed doing it. And I have horrible lighting in here. So I think that, the Prudential Center has much better lighting. So, I wish that I was there right now, but yeah, to answer your question, I would say like today was kind of a more laid back day. There was just kind of, getting everyone into the swing of things. And it was a lot of workout tests and stuff like that. What I can say is this, in terms of what I saw from the workouts today, I mean, I would just say that Alexander Holtz is really strong. Not only that, he's super quick. He had to do, some agility training too there. And I would say, his at cardio training as well. I would say that he is a super, super fast dude. I got there a little bit late and I didn't have access to the specific workouts, but from what he's told us that he's built more of a frame up and he looks stronger from what was pointed out by other reporters there. Amanda Stein actually pointed that out, that he looks a little bit stronger, and he, like I said, he's super quick. So we're going to find out more this week once they're actually on ice. But yeah, right now, what I could say is that, a lot of these guys are in good shape, and a lot of these guys are taller than I expected. I mean, Simon Nemesh is a tall dude, and he's a big dude, and he's younger than all of us by a couple of years, I would say.
Well, that's good because it's funny you mentioned about Alexander Holtz, because wasn't he on the same training program as Jesper Bratt? Or
I believe so. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he was this summer. He was training with Jesper Bratt in Sweden. It was Holtz. It was and the two Bratt brothers, because Philip Bratt is in New Jersey today. He was at the camp, and he is just a guy who is he's a firecracker, and I mean that in just his quotes alone. Like you could tell he's just a down to earth guy who really just like had a good head on his shoulders, meaning like he was funny, he was charismatic. We didn't get to see him play today, obviously, but I'm very excited to see, how he plays and how he meshes with some of the other defensemen this week, and that's what's kind of interesting about it. he doesn't stick out as being a super tall guy. When I looked at him, I actually was pretty level-headed with him. I'm like 5'9", 5'10". And I looked at him and I was like, oh, wow, like, he's a defenseman. And I know there's some defensemen that are that size, but, I've heard that his game, and I'm excited to see this week, is one that's aggressive and hardworking. That's what one scout described it as. I know that's pretty vague, but when you're in the Bratt family, I feel like aggressive and hardworking is a good adjectives to use.
Well, maybe we could get 2 Bratt brothers in the NHL, because right now the overall goal is to get 2 Hughes brothers in the NHL. Well, technically there are 2 Hughes brothers in the NHL, but 2 Hughes brothers playing on the same team before the end of the season, because Luke Hughes is going to do his sophomore year at the University of Michigan. So I guess the goal is to get him and Jack to play on the same sheet of ice before the season ends, because I presume that he'll sign his entry-level deal once he completed his sophomore year at the University of Michigan. So let's talk about Simon Nemesh real fast, because obviously it was a bit of a shocker that the New Jersey Devils drafted him with the 2nd overall pick. Obviously, I thought maybe they would go with Logan Cooley or Shane Wright, the better players available on the board. However, I say you don't usually draft the best player available. You draft what your team needs. I talked about this with Jersey Joe. I talked about this with a few other scouts, which is the fact of the matter is the New Jersey Devils were stacked at the center position with Mercer, Hughes, and also Heischer. So it's just like, it wouldn't really theoretically make sense to bring in Logan Cooley or Shane Wright when none of them will be our 1A center, especially since Jack Hughes and Nico Heischer are signed long-term. So I guess that kind of makes sense, because, long-term, we wouldn't be putting them in a position to just go out there and do their respective thing. But going back to Simon Nemesh, what can you tell us about Nemesh other than he likes to wear jorts, which, by the way, is way out of style?
Yeah, so first and foremost, to address the jorts thing, apparently that people pointed out to me online today that's huge in Slovakia. So we'll start there. He's Slovakian. He is, went back to back in terms of Slovakian picks, obviously with Jaroslav Slavkovsky, and they're good buddies, growing up. So that's honestly an interesting connection there. For months and months and months, I really did think that it would be Slavkovsky. I thought that was, almost a lock, because I thought that Wright going number 1 was a lock. And then as, more things came out, you obviously saw all the shifts there, all the shifts at the top as a whole in general. Like, you saw everyone from, like you said, like a Logan Cooley could have went number 1, and I would not have been surprised. But here's what I could tell you from a skill set perspective with Nemetz. He's a very offensive style defenseman. There was, some people compared him. There was a reporter today that compared him to Roman Josi, which I think if the Devils can get someone like that, I think that'd be, obviously very impressive for them to grab at the number 2 pick. I know a lot of teams were interested in having him at the number 2 pick. It's sort of in that range of the 1 to 3 range. I wouldn't say 1. I definitely wouldn't say 1, but I would say, like the 2 to 4 range of picks there. And I could tell you, specifically speaking on the Devils, I know that they were very intrigued by him for months and months and months. They were intrigued by the top 2 defensemen in this draft, that being Nemetz and Jiricek. I think that the Devils are very satisfied with who they came away with on the first night of the draft. And then obviously the second day of the draft too. I mean, another player too, another right-handed defenseman that I really like that the Devils got is Seamus Casey. So yeah, the Devils, I think they had a very solid draft, and I think they think that they had a solid draft. I think they're very satisfied with who they got.
So Seamus Casey, is he committed to play at the University of Michigan, if my memory is good?
That's right, man. Yeah, he's committed to Michigan along with Edwards and Luke Hughes there. So yeah, there's a little bit of a minor league system going on there with the New Jersey Devils up there in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Well, I guess Luke Hughes won't be alone after all, because obviously Owen Power, Kent Johnson, Matty Beniers signed their entry-level deals, and University of Michigan was, one of the best assembled college hockey teams in recent memory, in my opinion. So they took over in the draft last year. So ultimately, you can't go wrong with playing in the great state of Michigan, especially since it's near Canada. But ultimately, I have this question for you, and I'm not sure if you can answer it or not, but I heard rumors saying that the New Jersey Devils were obviously in the running for Alex DeBrincat. I heard also some rumblings happening saying that maybe they were aiming for Vladimir Tarasenko. I hear those talks are still ongoing. Were the New Jersey Devils ever close to trading away their second overall pick, or did they have a deal in the works, but it just fell through and they just said, you know what, we're going to hold on to it? What can you tell me about the overall mindset that Tom Fitzgerald had going into the draft?
Yeah, there was a couple interesting things that I've learned about this number 2 pick. Number one is that there was, like, as Fitzgerald himself revealed in the press conference, there was just a lot of tire kicking when it came to the talks for the number 2 pick, and he said that's honestly what a lot of potential deals start off as. But what I can also say, and this is referencing the press conference again, was that he wanted someone that I guess in acquiring someone for this number 2 overall pick, he really wanted someone that could have a consistent contract over the next couple of years, someone that he can retain for the next couple of years. So I think that was a factor, and I don't think you were getting that with DeBrincat. Although I would have, obviously, I think a lot of Devils fans would have loved to see DeBrincat on this team, and I sure as heck would love to cover him because I think he's a really solid player. But when it comes to that number 2 pick, it's I don't think we'll ever find out an answer as to how close a deal was on it. But I think it's just interesting from the get-go. It was just interesting how he was from the beginning saying that he was interested in trading his first rounder. Then when it became the number 2 pick, he was still like emphasizing that. And so like I said, time will maybe tell. Maybe he'll reveal it someday, but I just don't. I'm not able to comment on how close it was, but I can tell you they definitely took some phone calls on it. And I thought the Fiala thing was interesting too. What he mentioned that Minnesota called New Jersey about Fiala, and that they had some conversations about it. Whether that was for the number 2 pick or not, that remains to be seen. But yeah, that trade talk was very interesting to me.
You see, I know I'm an armchair GM, so I know that I don't
Silly
know
season, right? Silly season.
Silly. Oh, you do watch the show? Yes,
I do watch the show, man.
Silly seasons. I know I'm an armchair GM. I know that I can't. I don't know the logistics of how a trade actually goes down, but I just said, like, for what Kevin Fiala was traded for, and also Alex DeBrincat, theoretically the New Jersey Devils could have attained them, because Kevin Fiala was traded away for a mid-first round draft pick in this year's draft, and also I believe a college player. And I was like, the Devils could have offered that, maybe next year's first round draft pick or something like that. If you want to leave it protected, unprotected, that's for them to slug out. But Alex DeBrincat essentially traded away for nothing, because I did a crossover with I'm not sure if you saw the episode. I did a crossover with one of my colleagues at Locked On Blackhawks, and we were basically talking about a hypothetical trade package. And basically I saw that a Chicago reporter was saying, like, the Blackhawks were demanding for like 3 first round draft picks or something like that, because they were desperate to get back into the first round draft after that Seth Jones trade last year. So I was just like, okay, I'll give you next year's first round draft pick. I'll give you a second round draft pick. I'll give you Pavel Zacha as collateral, and I'll also give you a prospect of your choosing, obviously not named Holtz, Mercer, or Hughes. But ultimately, it just seems like, and this is the big one, and we'll talk about it momentarily, but Johnny Gaudreau, he seems like to be the main target for New Jersey Devils, because at this point, I think it's either Johnny Gaudreau or bust, or maybe get Tarasenko to save face, but I wouldn't mind having Tarasenko on this team either. But before we talk about those respective players, let's talk about what Tom Fitzgerald was talking about in your interview with him, because I saw that you were able to ask him a series of questions and basically just try to pick his brain a little bit. What were some of your main takeaways after Tom Fitzgerald and you got done discussing?
Yeah, I would say just some of the main takeaways were some of the points that you brought up already. First and foremost, talking about the Fiala situation. Obviously, I think that was fascinating, as I've said. I also think that his answers when I asked him about both DeBrincat and JT Miller were pretty interesting. Like, how he was pretty open about Fiala, and it might just be because the trade didn't happen. And at the time, we didn't know that the DeBrincat trade didn't happen, like with the Devils at least. But basically, I think it was like kind of interesting his answers on that question specifically, like the JT Miller and DeBrincat one, because he was kind of vague about that, but didn't go into details, but did go into details about the Fiala situation. So I like that a lot. Or I guess I didn't like the DeBrincat and JT Miller situation, but I think his openness about the Fiala situation was interesting. The Jesper Bratt trade talks thing was interesting as well, because I'm not going to lie to you. Like, obviously, I had been reporting for weeks, and I talked to the source. I credited the source there. It was Bratt's agent and the Devils. They both confirmed to me that these guys have been talking, and the Devils even mentioned to me that they thought that whenever people were talking about a Bratt trade situation, that it was pure speculation. And that was before Fitzgerald confirmed this in the press conference when he said, I could tell you unequivocally, this is quoting Tom Fitzgerald, I could tell you unequivocally, Jesper Bratt has not been on a trading block, and we have, not fielded conversations for him. So basically, yeah, I would say all those were interesting takeaways. I think, he seems committed to Lindy Ruff too. That was another takeaway that I had. And that's purely because a lot of the young players like Ruff, and they like the way that he's been developing the players. And that's, obviously a heavily debated topic. So that's why I wanted to ask him. And all these questions were heavily debated topics. So I definitely just wanted to get the answer from the guy that runs the show. You know what I mean?
And I applaud you for that. Sometimes as a reporter, and I speak from experience, sometimes you don't ask the safe questions. You ask the tough questions, the one that everyone wants to know. So I credit you for that.
I appreciate that, man. And I'll tell you what, like, that was my first press conference with the Devils. So it was tough. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it was one of those interesting things that you have to kind of, like ump your way through it. Like, do I have the confidence as a 22-year-old reporter who this is his first press conference with the Devils to ask a question like this? But I just, decided, like, okay, people want to know this, so who cares? Like, it's fine.
I mean, did Tom Fitzgerald tell you what his plans were during the course of the offseason? Because struck out with Fiala, probably a smart thing to do after seeing what Fiala signed for. And then Alex DeBrincat, I think that one will come back to bite us if we don't get a big name free agent. Then obviously they traded for Vitek Vanacek, and Tom Fitzgerald said that he was content with Blackwood and Vanacek being the 1 and 2 goalie tandem for the Devils this upcoming season. So did he give you any insight as to what his plan is going to be in the next couple days, since the free agency will start on the 13th?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly that we brought up at this press conference what his specific plans for free agency were. Obviously, can't really comment on that without getting charged for tampering. So that's why I didn't ask that specifics about it. I did ask, though, why there was a bunch of teams that, whether it was re-signing some of their RFAs or making trades and all the other sorts. There was a bunch of moves that were made. Sorry, I just burped. There was a bunch of moves that were made in, leading up to the draft. And I was curious, like, why the Devils weren't one of those teams. There was a bunch of teams that did it. Someone put a stat on Twitter that there was, a number of teams. I can't remember the specific number. There was a lot. And that's why I asked him, like, why had the Devils not been one of those teams? And he said, there was different priorities at the time. And that's understandable. I get that for sure. I just wonder what this means for free agency for Wednesday, because there's obviously, we're at the time of this recording, there's been a bunch of RFA news that's been happening, and this is just the RFA day. You know what I mean? This is just the qualifying offer day. So I think Wednesday's shaping up to be pretty hectic, and I'm very curious to see what Fitzgerald, what strings he tries to pull on Wednesday, what deals he tries to make. Will he be linked to a Gaudreau? Will he be linked to some of these other top free agents that are out there? I'm very curious to see.
At this time of recording, I got some breaking news. So Malkin is now going to test the waters of free agency on Wednesday.
Yep. I just saw that myself, and I just saw Nichushkin is signing for 8 years extension too.
What?
Yeah. LeBron just tweeted that.
What's up, guys? Before we continue our talk with Ryan, I want to bring you guys the first live read this morning, and it comes from our partners at AG1. It's literally a product that I use all the time because I started taking AG1 because I wanted to be happier. I wanted to be healthier, wanted to get my sleep cycle back in order. I'm a very busy person, so I need energy throughout the course of the day. And also it doesn't hurt to be healthy as well. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all those things. So once again, I take it to be happier and healthier, but its lifestyle is very friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while tasting good, supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's one thing that's best with AG1, which is it uses best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. And it's time for you to get your health back in order. So it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out after your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And now, the second live read comes from our friends at BetOnline. So BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sport betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, including this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche. But place your bets as to which player will be signing with what team this free agency for the NHL, which is why I'm talking with Ryan, and MLB scores. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores, and BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please remember to gamble responsibly and visit our friends at Locked On Bets for all your betting needs there as well. Okay, let's get back to our discussion with Ryan as we talk everything from free agency, and also, is it possible that Johnny Gaudreau will sign with the New Jersey Devils? Let's take it away once again. Oh, geez. Okay. So I guess this leads into our next topic, free agency, the big one. Ryan, please give me some good news that the New Jersey Devils have a good chance of getting Johnny Gaudreau. What have you been hearing?
Well, this isn't even just a what I've been hearing type situation. This is more of a, I guess, the entire like zeitgeist of speculation this offseason has been pointing to Johnny Gaudreau being heavily linked to the New Jersey Devils, whether that's a proximity thing or whether that's a just cap space in general thing. I think based on the history of obviously Dougie Hamilton signing with the Devils last year and them being in on that huge free agent, I think with the cap space this season and with Tom Fitzgerald's vision, at the end of the day, like him or not, Tom Fitzgerald's job is to improve this team. I know a lot of people think that he's not improving this team, but
I'm one of the minority who say that I'm okay with what Tom Fitzgerald and Lindy Ruff are doing so far. Didn't mean to cut you off because I feel as though Lindy Ruff has done a great job of developing our young guys. Tom Fitzgerald was the person who was able to, form this team that has so much potential to move forward. So I just want to say I'm not one of those people who just constantly slander Lindy Ruff or Tom Fitzgerald, but continue.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I respect that because they have made some very solid moves. Obviously, the Hamilton move is a great move, and the way they have developed some of these young prospects has been awesome. There's no denying that. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens this offseason. Unfortunately, right now, I can't give you any sort of big rumor, big scoop about any of the pending free agents because Devils camp has been pretty tight-lipped about it. But I am very intrigued to see, and I will definitely be working and trying to figure out some of the information that happens this Wednesday, man. I really cannot wait to see it.
What are your expectations for the Devils come this free agent period? So obviously, let's just say hypothetically, they strike out on Johnny Gaudreau and they can't get a deal done with Tarasenko to bring him over to New Jersey. What's the plan after that? Is it just to sign some under the radar players and just stick to what we got? Or are they going to try to do a trade like What's the overall mindset for the Devils in case all goes wrong? Because Fiala's off the board, the Brinket's off the board since we got Vanacek. Seems like Kemper's now off the board. What's the overall plan for the Devils as free agency starts to approach? And also Jack Campbell might be off the board now.
Yeah. So my philosophy on this and my expectations, I guess, for this is that if they miss out on one of those, big hitters in this free agency class, like obviously Gaudreau, I think they should go out and get some good depth pieces, because I think there is talent in this team. I think they should obviously, continuously swing for the fences, whether that's, being big players in for the Palat sweepstakes or whoever else that may be. The free agency class is kind of weird this year, because I feel like after some of the, I guess, quote unquote big hitters fall, within the next couple days or couple weeks, however long it takes, I think it starts to become a little weak. But I put an asterisk there because I think there's some good depth pieces, on this free agent market. I think there's, some good under the radar players in this free agent market. Whoever the Devils are linked to this offseason, I don't really want to speculate because I would rather, go check to see and check the sources themselves to see if, they're linked. And I know if I speculate a name, some people are going to think that that's, linked to the names. But, I do think that there's, some good depth in this free agent market. And I think the Devils could definitely do that as a backup plan, because I think you might agree with this. This team is, as we've said, up and coming. And maybe this is a year where they end up having a even more so of a development surge. And Jack Hughes takes an even more of a step, and Nico Hischier takes even more of a step. Dougie Hamilton continues to play well. I think the position wise, they should obviously focus on the wings and the getting more depth on defense. And then, if they want to make more tweaks to the goalie situation too, they can look at some of the names there. I know Samsonov too. He was another name that they didn't qualify. Washington didn't qualify him. So you could be looking at a team that has two Washington Capitals goaltenders next season. That's as far as the speculation as I will go. But that news just broke like 5 minutes ago. So, that I have not confirmed anything there. That's just pure speculation. What if they go after a Samsonov?
I got you, and definitely don't want to put you on the hot seat of any sorts. But Ryan, thank you for taking the time to basically talk rumors happening amongst the Devils organization and what you saw at development camp. I think the future is bright for New Jersey Devils. Obviously, sometimes things don't go according to plan, but no plan is perfect. And I just want to ask you this. What's best case scenario for the Devils?
Best case scenario in terms of next season?
Best case scenario in terms of free agency, also next season.
Sure.
I guess we can make this a two-part question.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love the question. So in my honest opinion, because of the cap space they have, okay, let's say that Gaudreau is worth $10 million a year or $11 million a year, whatever the number may be. I'm swinging big for Gaudreau. If I'm the Devils, I'm swinging big for Gaudreau. Okay, I'm going to get him to his home state in New Jersey. Obviously, he grew up a Flyers fan, but I don't think they have the cap space to do that.
No, they don't.
I'm getting Gaudreau, and then I'm getting, like I said, some good. I think if you get Gaudreau, some of the wing depth does like trickle down a little bit, so that's obviously would be a good thing for them. After that, I would say get a little bit more bolstering on the defensive depth there. And then, I want them to tweak around and I said the other day on Twitter, I did get, attacked for it. And I wish I wasn't this sarcastic about it. But Tom Fitzgerald said he was content after the Vanacek trade with the goalie situation. And I didn't, I thought that, there might be more to look at. I thought that this offseason he would look at the goalie situation and be overly anxious about it and overly eager about it. Like, thinking, okay, we got to do everything and make everything work to try to prevent what happened last season with 7 different goaltenders shuffling through there. I thought, maybe there would be more of an effort to go look at some of the, free agent goalies in the market, or maybe the goalies on the trade market. But I would say, to summarize, best case scenario, Gaudreau, depth on the wings, depth on defense, and maybe another goaltender if they want. And then for next season, honestly, if they could Gaudreau, a lot of opportunities open up. And I always point out how much parity there is in hockey. You can be, I pointed this out on Twitter space last night. You could be a team like the LA Kings who picked Quentin Byfield with the number 2 pick just 2 years ago, I think. Then they ended up making the postseason 2 years later. You know what I mean? So I think this team is not as far off as a lot of people think. I think, you know, they underperformed last year, but there was a lot of factors that went into that. But you know, that stuff happens, and they need to build a team that can get through some of those injury issues that happen, some of the dramatic goalie situations that happen. I think best case scenario next season for this team, I would say if everything goes right, they can, you know, they can threaten as one of the wild card teams, you know, and I say that's best case scenario.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the Devils could certainly make the wild card if all goes well. Man, this lighting is really starting to annoy me.
Mine too. Man.
Yeah, sunsets in my room. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll understand my frustration. So I apologize in advance. But yeah, I think that is best case scenario for the New Jersey Devils, which is get Johnny Gaudreau, get some more depth, and possibly, just possibly, make a wild card position, and then we go from there, because I believe Johnny Gaudreau, if he was to keep on pace what he was doing with the Calgary Flames, then he'll be the first Devils player in franchise history to eclipse 100+ points, something that Pat Elias has never done, Taylor Hall has never done. Jack Hughes was on pace to do it had he not gotten hurt, but you know, that's what I want people to basically take away from. And I think that is best case scenario for the New Jersey Devils. So Ryan, once again, thanks for taking the time to do this. Where can everyone find you at?
Yeah, Trey, first and foremost, thank you for having me. You guys can all follow me on Twitter at RyanNovo62. That's RyanNovo62. I almost just spelled my own name wrong there. So you can follow me there. You can subscribe to NJ.com, and that would be a huge help for us. These subscription numbers have been awesome. If you guys continue to subscribe, it'd be great. And yeah, I mean, we got a party week coming up, man. I mean, it's free agency is a party. It's going to be a stressful mess for the two of us, Trey. But I for one am excited for it. I think these are exciting fireworks. You know, this is an exciting headache to have, I guess.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst is what I say frequently on this show. So hopefully all goes well for New Jersey Devils. Otherwise, people are going to hear me complain for the next couple of days. I don't think anyone wants to hear me complain.
Very true. Very true.
All right. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thank you so much, Trey. I appreciate it, man.